Hey Doug, thanks for joining me.
What's up, Danny?
Oh, not much. Just enjoying the sunshine today. Finally, no cloud cover, and you're not far, right? You're in Austin.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty nice here too.
Yeah, just an hour north of where we are in San Antonio. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I wanted to start just getting people an idea of how you got started. What got you interested in the real estate investing game, and what's your story been like?
Okay. Yeah, I had a buddy that I lived with in Houston for a little bit, and he had a couple like fourplexes that he rented out, and I mean, I just thought it was cool that he could, make money, and he was living upstairs in one of them.
Cool.
So it was just, I guess, real estate's always been kind of appealing to me, and I think my first flip was in 2015. And me and my wife were actually looking for a place to live here in Austin. And I had been watching a particular neighborhood for a while. And I knew like you basically couldn't buy a house for under 300 grand. So I think that was kind of how it all started. Just knowing my numbers for a particular neighborhood. And then in the process of looking for this house, we came across a flooded house, and a realtor was showing it. It wasn't on the market. It had been in probate. And I just kind of asked her, like, at first, like, we were completely turned off. I was like, well, I don't want to live here. This house needs way too much work.
Yeah.
And she told me that the seller would sell it for probably about 150 grand.
Whoa.
Since my background was in construction, I was kind of looking around and thinking about it later. And I was like, man, I know it wouldn't take more than 50 grand to just get this place fixed up. And I knew that they're selling in the neighborhood for 300 or more. So I was like, it like clicked in my head, there's money to be made here. And I was like, this is a perfect opportunity to try it out. It's not a tight deal. And after I did that, I was like, this is the business where you can actually make some real money and, get out of your job if you want to do it.
So had you educated yourself with anything before that, before you picked up that property, or is it, just
Not really. No, it was just, I'd been in construction. I actually had just got my home inspector's license. So I was kind of doing that on the side. And then I basically just kind of learned as I went. I called a regular lender and I was like, hey, I got this house. It needs a lot of work. And they're like, well, we can't help you. Call a hard money lender. Call this guy, Joey. And I'm like, okay. So I just called him, met up with him. And it was just a hard money lender here in town. And I was like, man, I want to meet up at Starbucks and talk to you about how this works because I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And, so we met up and I was like, all right, let's do it.
So what were the terms, if you don't mind sharing the terms with that hard money loan?
Back then they were like 14% and 3 points.
Okay.
But it was, sorry, that was my first deal. And I really only had to come out of pocket like $1,000.
Yeah, not bad. No, yeah, that's good to be able to have somebody to lend the money on a property that needs those repairs because, they're taking a little bit of a risk. What was your goal to fix it up and then refinance once you had it fixed up and move in?
No, well, I guess we kind of weighed that option for a little while, but then I was, we just decided to sell it and get the money from it. But the weird thing is, it wasn't that easy because the houses were flooded in this neighborhood, so a lot of people were just repairing their house to move back into it. So since I was doing it as a flip, I was trying to move quickly. And some of these other people that were still going to live there, took their sweet time fixing it up. But when I put it on the market, you drive through the neighborhood and still see dumpsters in everybody's driveway. So it probably wasn't that appealing at that time because it probably turned a lot of people off. But it sat on the market for a little bit longer due to that reason. And then I ended up doing a cash out refinance I pulled 25 grand out and put a renter in there for 2,500 a month. So I was cash flowing like about $400 or $500 a month.
Nice.
I sold it after like a year and a half or so. I rented it out.
Okay. And what was the profit on that one?
63,000.
Nice.
Including the 25,000 cash out refinance, and then what I sold it for at the end. But that's not including all the money I cash flowed as well for while I was renting it out.
Was that a landlord that bought it with the tenant still in it, or did you have the tenant?
No, they moved out. The tenant moved out, and then this guy bought it.
Cool. So which was that on, like a creek or on a river, or where was that?
It was in Onion Creek. It's on it's like an older neighborhood that's has a golf course in it, and it's actually kind of weird because it flooded in 2013, like the Halloween floods we had here.
Yeah.
And then it flooded exactly 2 years later, which was the morning after I closed on it. So I closed on it, and everything had already been, like, all the flooring, drywall, everything had been taken out. So it just needed the finishes to go back in. But the morning after I closed on it, we had the floods that night, and I went over there, and there was like about probably an inch of water in it. Nothing crazy, but it was still kind of freaky waking up the next morning and being like,
yeah,
I think this flip house I just bought might have just got flooded again. So it was kind of freaky.
Man, so you did that one, and then, how long did that take you? I mean, you finished it and got a tenant in it, and how long was that rehab, do you think?
I think it was like about 3 to 4 months.
Yeah, not bad. And then what did you do from there? So where did you start to educate yourself after that and want to do
Yeah, I started to really dig into bigger pockets and podcasts, pretty much anything I could get my hands on. Just started learning, going to meetups here and there, and just kind of struggled with the the marketing, for a while, just because there's so much you can do, and I still am kind of struggling with that. But the next one I got was actually directly across the street from where we live now. It was a vacant house. Been vacant for years, and I just, like, the neighbors told me, that house is vacant. I don't know what's going on. So I just looked them up online, called them, told them we just moved in across the street. And then I approached them when I saw them outside one day. They were just using it like as a storage house.
Wow.
Because they lived there, they raised their kids there forever. And I actually bugged them for, like, they told me that they would sell it to me whenever it was time to sell. But it took them 8 months before they were finally ready to sell. And I was sending them letters, emailing them, calling them.
They just wanted you to leave them alone. They're like, let's sell it to them. So, yeah.
I'm glad I didn't, because my phone rang one Saturday, and I had his number saved, and I was like, this is it. Like, he's ready to sell. And it was a great feeling. That was a great deal.
So what was that house like? I mean, what kind of shape was it in? What was their motivation for selling through, to you rather than a realtor?
They had, like, it had been vacant for so long that there was a wall that was kind of rotten. There was, like, holes in the attic where animals had gone in. It was basically in the, 80s condition, from when it was built, more or less. No updating, no remodeling, and then just other, like, little stuff. But it was a lot of work. I mean, it's on a half an acre, 2,200 square foot house, and we did basically everything.
Wow. So what were the numbers like on that? What was the purchase, the sale, and then what kind of profit did you look at on that one?
The purchase was a 103. The ARV was like 315, but I'm always conservative with my ARV. Like I always leave a little bit of room there just to be on the safe side. So I had a good feeling it would sell for more than that, but I was just being conservative because it ended up selling for $350.
Wow.
I put $100,000 into it, and I bought it for 103. So I made I used hard money again on that one. After you calculate everything else into it, I made like $109,000.
Wow, that's a heck of a deal, and that being the second one. So it's like 63, and then 109. You're hitting it out of the park on each of them.
Yeah, they called me the home run king for a little while.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was partly luck. It's a really competitive market here in Austin.
Yeah.
And
well, that's the off-market stuff you were working. I mean.
Yeah. And that's still what I focus on, but the other two I'm doing right now are, the profit's going to be like 30, 35, and the other one I'm actually partnered, split 50-50 with the real experienced investor, and probably only going to make like 20 on that one. But that's in my first 6 months of being independent, so I'm happy.
Yeah, it's awesome. So you had said part of the struggle was determining, how to find these deals, right, consistently. And there's a lot of different strategies out there. So what did you struggle with that, and how did you find your way through that to finally like pick a couple that you were going to focus on? Or did you never pick a couple?
No, I picked a couple, but I'm fixing to kind of make a little transition just because I want to try to focus on some strategies that aren't as expensive for a little while to make sure I don't burn through all my cash and I have to go back and work somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I transition and try to do some different things. And then as I get a couple more deals underneath my belt, then I can start investing a little bit more money into the marketing, like to some other stuff that's a little bit more expensive. I guess the main thing was like I struggled with it for a long time. Even when I quit my job and I had all my time back, you just wake up in the morning and you're like, there's things you can do. And if you don't have a real plan or you don't have something figured out, you kind of, do something for a little bit and then you switch to something else. And that was the hardest part. You don't gain any real momentum or traction or anything. So I guess I just, sat down time and time again and was like, okay, what am I really going to stick with? I kept hearing it from everybody. Like you need to pick, one, just start with one, or, even managing 2 or 3 can still be hard and take a lot of time. So, just hearing that from people like you and other investors, I kind of just picked like a couple that I think would work. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm not by any means getting a ton of leads right now, but I'm still learning and I'm making money. That's the main thing, because I did have to dedicate a lot of time to the flip I just completed, which is kind of central downtown Austin, pretty close. Took a lot of my time because I just wanted to get it done. And, that's another struggle you always hear about. You're going to have to figure out, whether you're going to hire somebody or get help, because if I'm out there managing flips and making sure they're getting done, I'm not continuing, or it's very hard to continue with your marketing so you can have that constant pipeline.
Yeah. So you're fresh into the struggle of, I've got this much cash. I've gone full time 6 months, right? You said 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's that balance of investing the money to get more deals and make more income versus, that's kind of scary because it's going to burn up my money if I don't get the deals. I've spent the money, and it's kind of that balancing act and having to have a little bit of faith and committing to something and just sticking with it till it works, but wondering if it really will work. Right. So what are the things that you are kind of working on? What is you I guess you were working on something and now you transitioned to a different marketing. What was
No. I mean, like right now I'm still doing, I'm doing probate direct mail. I have like a big list of like probate, but I send them a professional letter. And then I have like, I send postcards to Driving for Dollars, divorce, and like code violations, I think, or something. So I have like a bigger list that I'm sending cheaper postcards to. And
what size is that roughly?
It's about 12 to 1,500.
Okay. And then how many times are you hitting each one?
Like once a month.
How many months do you plan on having it go out to that same list?
Like probably 6 months. And then, so I have my direct mail, and then I have, I'm pretty sure my last deal I got was from, actually from Craigslist.
Oh, wow.
I'm doing those and need to be more consistent with it, but I'm doing those. And then,
so they called you because you're putting ads out on Craigslist?
yeah, she called a lot of people. And actually a wholesaling company here in Austin had it under contract before me.
Huh.
And she needed to move pretty quickly. They were trying to sell it for $305. And when they couldn't find somebody to buy it, she called me back and I bought it for $245.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She just needed it to be done quick because she was retiring, moving out of state. And she probably just gave the wholesalers like a short option.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and she even told me that, you know, she had an offer of like 20,000 more, but she felt like a certain level of comfort with me and decided to go with me. So I'm doing direct mail, Craigslist ads, and I just got some car magnets. Actually, how I got my other deal right now.
Oh, wow. You got a deal from the car magnets.
1 week after I bought them.
Wow.
$60 for these car magnets. And I got a deal, I'm not kidding you, 1 week after I bought them right by my house. And
you're going to see, after this podcast comes out, you'll probably see an additional 20 or 30 investors in Austin with brand new.
I'm sure.
That didn't happen for me, but maybe it's because I didn't put them on my truck for very long.
Yeah, I just put them on my tailgate. That's it. And it was actually a woman who was behind like 6 months on her mortgage, you know, and just, you know, needed help. And I kept running the numbers like as a flip, and I was like, it's not going to work. Like I told her I was going to help her, and I can't. Like there's not enough margin there with what she owed.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like racking my brain one night. I was like, man, this ain't going to work. I don't know what to do. But I knew there was still a good spread if you could do like an assumption or something and take over her existing mortgage. So I just got on the phone and started calling like all the investors I'd met at meetups, like the older guys that been doing this forever that I already kind of knew. And I think only like one of them answered, and I just told him the numbers, and he's like, yeah, we can do it. And now I'm learning from him how to do an assumption the right way. And so he was going to get the mortgage current. I'm basically handling the rehab because it's right here by my house. It only needed like $12,000, needed flooring and paint and like other little stuff. That's it. And right now it's for sale for like $235. And we're each going to make about 20 grand.
Wow, that's not bad. Not
yeah,
bad at all.
It took me like 2 weeks to get it fixed up. And he's doing like for sale by owner right now. And we've had some showings, so it's going to work out.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine doing for sale by owner again. That is not fun if you don't have somebody managing that for you to go and to the appointments and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you give up a little bit with the realtor, but just the life is so much easier, and you know, with doing it that way. But so, what is the future hold for you? I mean, what are you what is the goal? Where do you want to be in a year or 3 years?
I mean, I just want to be working for myself. Hopefully doing a lot more projects, maybe even like, get to the point where I could do some new construction or add in wholesaling to the mix, hopefully, so I can have, some quicker money and then have some money from a flip and then maybe even take on like a new construction deal. But I mean, I already know I'm not even really like worried about it anymore. I just have to, I know I have to put in the work and work hard. And I've already seen the money you can make. I've seen the lifestyle it can provide. It's just a matter of like putting in that consistent effort, and it will pay off. So, that's more or less kind of what I'm working on right now, because I was working for the construction company for 10 years and just had that set schedule. So making that transition to my own is just, is a little bit difficult. It took me time to get going. But in 1 to 3 years, I just want to be doing more deals and hopefully, like what everyone always talks about, just, try to work on my business more, not be in my business, as much, so I can just, have more freedom. That's the main thing.
Yeah, no, that's a big point that you made. And I remember struggling with the same thing going full time. As you have that set schedule and everything's kind of mapped out for you. You go in and do what's been mapped out for you. When it's up to you to map it out, it's weird. Like it takes time because you don't really know what the right thing is to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're still struggling with that a little bit, you think? Where you're kind of like doing stuff, but you're just wondering if maybe that's the best thing to be doing?
I mean, I guess I just need to, like, I get some leads, but I need to get more, and so I need to either spend more money on marketing or have a better plan or do something more consistently where I get more leads.
Yeah. And I think, you had said eventually do what other people are doing, and that's work on your business instead of in it. And I think right now is the time to actually have that mindset,
Mm-hmm.
To be where you're actually already doing that. That doesn't mean that you're going to go out in the next week or two and hire a bunch of people. But what that does mean is you're going to look at things from the perspective of somebody that does have a team and, what those roles are. Because right now you're filling all those roles, but you need to know what each of those roles is responsible for. And then making sure that you filling those roles is working on the right one at the right time. You know what I mean? So that you kind of have that plan, and then you already know, and then it's a matter of later just plugging people in. But you've been in each one, and you looked at each one as a role like that. And right now it's like the consistency of the leads and the business and getting the business really cranked up. You're doing awesome. Like you've had some crazy profits and you're doing the stuff that brings those deals. But I know where you're coming from with this whole consistency thing, because that's the part that's like, it feels like a ton of work, and I don't know if I can ever get it really consistent. But I think you can if you put that marketing hat on and sort of map out what it is exactly that the plan is that you're going to try, and then tweak as you go. But having that all written out, like, do you have your direct mail plan written out?
No.
Well, and I got that, because when I asked the question, it's like probably 6 months. Well, there should be no probablys. Like there should be, you know what I mean? It's write this stuff out. And that's what I mean by saying you have these different roles and, kind of writing that stuff out and really making it concrete, because there's something that comes with writing stuff out and drawing an org chart out and then looking at what piece is really important right now. And that's the marketing. Let me get that nailed down, because without that, nothing else matters.
Right.
I need to put down my plan and commit to it, and maybe write it down and then get the advice of some other people that you respect and feel like have a good grasp of that, and just get their advice on it. Because I'm wondering if like the 1,500 person mailing list, if that's all of those combined, is not very big.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it's probably going to take more than that, especially in Austin, competitive market like that. You know, so yeah, mapping out the plan, getting some advice about it, coming back, tweaking it, and then kind of after you've done that, then committing to it and saying, I'm just going to go all in and do it. But
yeah,
you know, it's the thing. And, you know, I know you didn't ask me for that advice, and
no,
I hope
I'm glad to get it, man, for sure.
but I was there, and I remember being there, and I wish someone had
Yeah.
told me that too. Like I thought, well, I know what to do, and that's the way I operate. Is kind of just have it up here in my head, you know, and I feel like I got it under control. I don't need to map it up. But when you finally do map it out, it takes a load off.
Yeah. And the weird thing is, like, I know that, and I just haven't really sat down and given it the time because I guess, you know, it's just hard.
But that's the working on your business.
Right.
Making the time to do it.
Yeah. I need to, for sure.
Yeah. And I'm still learning it right now. And the, you know, the businesses that we're running with the software and the flipping business, where we find ourselves still to this day putting out fires because I didn't stop to take the time to take the higher view of it and notice that that's what I was doing, is putting out these fires every week when I need to deal with the problem that's causing the fires.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
So the marketing, and then you've got that going, and you actually, I think before we talked, you had sent me an email and said that there was a mistake that had been made with some other investors. How did that happen? Do you mind sharing that on?
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, people need to learn not to do this. So basically, I just met up with some people, and we partnered on a apartment deal they were going to be developing. I had met up with them multiple times, seemed like great people. And, you know, we talked a lot about helping each other out, working together on different stuff. And I made a loan to them of $92,000, the money I made from my second flip, basically, to basically for like the down payment to secure the property with a hard money lender. And my mistake was I got a promissory note and everything, but my stupid mistake was I didn't have an attorney review it, secured by any real estate or anything. And the craziest part is, like, I'm super skeptical about, you know, stuff like this happening. And I'm always like, you know, I'm always really aware of my surroundings. So like for it to happen to me was like a huge shocker. And basically they couldn't get their investors together to come build this project, and they ended up getting foreclosed on and then filed bankruptcy with their LLC, and there's nothing I could do. Wow. And I mean, looking back, I could have done things a lot different, but you know, it's just like you live and learn, and now I won't do that again. So
yeah,
that was.
What do you think you would have done differently then?
Yeah, I mean, I could have paid an attorney $500 or something to review the paperwork, and he would have said, "Hell no, don't do this," and lost 500 instead of 90 grand. And that money was what I was going to use to start my real estate business. So when I was just fixing to quit my job, and I lost all the money I was going to start my business with. So it was like, I was depressed. It was bad. But I mean, you got to move on, you know? So anyway, the good thing, the only thing that saved me was we had one rental house, which was our last house we just we moved from like 2 years ago, and we had about 80,000 equity in it. So we just sold that house and got that money from there. Because I mean, I know like this real estate thing can work, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it work for myself already, so I'm 100%, you know, into it, and I'm gonna do it one way or another.
Yeah. No, I can tell. And then coming on the show and being okay with sharing those things, and helping other people by seeing that. But I think when things like that, as painful as they are, losing 92,000, I think that probably experience now is going to help propel you into, being that house flipping business owner and, not make these more expensive mistakes down the road.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was that less
For
that has to
sure.
be done now instead of
Yeah. I
when it
mean,
hit you.
yeah. Since then, I've talked to a lot of people that have lost money in other businesses. Um, I guess, it kind of happens to everybody at some point in their life. But to me, it was a big one right at the very beginning. And maybe it'll keep me from losing even more later on down the road. So.
No, I think it will, because you see how things can happen quickly, you don't expect, and when people kind of have you sold on them and think that everything's just going to be great, you find out differently. So, and I think that's going to help. Having other people hear that too is going to help a lot of people out there too as well. It's like, I
Yeah.
heard about this. I'm not just going to get a promissory note. I'm going to have it secured by real estate and make sure I understand that I'm in the first position, second position, or whatever
Right.
of this loan. Make sure that everything is kosher. But um, does your wife get involved in the business at all, or is it just you?
No, it's just me. She's a nurse.
How does she feel about it?
Um, I mean, she believes in it. She's seen what it can do, and I mean, she's happy that that I'm doing deals right now, and I'm getting calls and making progress. So, I mean, it should only get better.
Yeah. Do you ever take her out to the properties, look at houses and stuff?
Yeah, every once in a while.
What does she think about them?
She thinks it's cool.
I guess you're
That's
not looking
about
at
it.
anything super rough
She's
then.
not really into it that much.
Yeah. I guess you're not looking. I was kind of looking for, she's disgusted by some of them, but I don't know. Uh, yeah, like having all that going and doing that. I was going to ask you earlier on in this conversation, what your typical day was like, because it's 6 months in from going full time. Like, what is that typical? Because there's a lot of people listening that are thinking, well, if I go full time, I'm going to blow this thing up. But I don't know that they know what they're going to do with all that time. Was that a struggle for you? And what do you do right now every day?
Uh-oh.
Loaded questions all the time. Loaded questions.
That's still one of my biggest struggles because I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, yeah, once I quit, I'm going to have all this time and I'm just going to go get all these deals. It goes back to like what you're talking about with having that plan mapped out so that whenever you wake up in the morning, you're like, okay, today's my day to do this. Like, just go do it. And since I don't really have that complete plan yet, a lot of my time lately has been, dealing with this flip and making sure it gets done. We did a whole lot of stuff. So I was over there a lot, making sure people were getting stuff done, going to the city with, checking on permits, stuff like that. But also trying to balance marketing, following up with people, making sure my new postcard is designed, or contacting whoever. Like, I have a VA that pulls my probate information, so I follow up with him. I still have to filter the list a little bit. So it's just, stuff like that. But I do need to have a better plan, because now that I am free, like, there's days here and there where, I might need to take care of something personal or just go have fun or something with a friend. And I don't really feel bad about doing it because, I still have to work hard, but I mean, I'm working for myself. So it's good to have some days to actually enjoy it. And sometimes I wish I could just kind of treat it like I was employed by somebody else. Like, you need to be working in your business from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. or something Monday through Friday, and have fun after that or on the weekends. So yeah, that's another big thing is like, the stuff you need to be doing day in and day out. I need to come up with the plan, like you said, and obviously nobody's perfect. You might have a day here and there you need to go do something with your wife or whatever, but I need to be a little bit better about, being consistent with everything and doing it day in and day out.
Yeah. Have you tried to ever do time blocking or structured weeks where you're going to do like these activities on Monday at this time, these activities?
Yeah. I'm like a massive note taker. I've got pieces of paper everywhere with great ideas written down on them. I've tried time blocking, but what I did was like I put too much in there. Like I had too many strategies and it takes time than that, and it's just too overwhelming. So you have to kind of, I'm learning and realizing that you kind of have to slow down, pick 2 or 3 things, maybe time block around those. And once those are mastered or working, then you can add something else or get help or something. But
I've tried that countless times, and I was asking because I want to find somebody that actually does use that, because I haven't found anybody that actually really can do that. Like, and I tried over and over, and then my dad one day had told me something that kind of gave me permission to say, you know what, that doesn't work. He said, that's too structured. Like you're not like that. That's not gonna, like, you're just not going to follow it. You're gonna, that's not the way we like to live our lives. It's not like the way we like to run our days. Mm-hmm. And he knows that about me. And he's like, don't stop trying to, like, don't do things that way, because you just set yourself up to be miserable. Yeah. And so it's like, well, what do I do instead? Like, if I don't do that, what do I do instead? And the big idea was, figuring out that one thing from thinking through working on your business, the thing that you need to do that's going to move everything the furthest. So that's like that book, The One Thing, mm-hmm. Essentialism, if you've read either of those. But just having that thing and saying, okay, today I'm going to be good as long as I do something towards this. Right. And the rest of the day I can do the task stuff. But don't ever start your day doing your to-do list unless it has to do with that big, moving that bit, knocking over that big domino. Mm-hmm. Because when you start the day putting out fires and being reactive to, like, go check on this or do that other thing, you're going to find stuff to fill up that to-do list to do those, and then feel like you did something good that day because you knocked off everything on your to-do list. But you didn't really move towards, it's like the cover of, I think it's the cover of Essentialism, or the idea in that book where it shows the circle and the same amount of effort, and they're all going off the circle, mm-hmm. but none of them get very far, versus the circle with one line that goes like really far off of it. Mm-hmm. And that idea was just something I could be okay with, and this time blocking crap, like, screw that. I don't like that. I'm not going to try to ever do that again. Yeah. But,
that's one thing I'm kind of realizing. And, most of the time I do try to, when I think about things, I'm like, well, like, marketing's the most important thing. That's what I need to make sure, that I'm getting it out. But yeah, you're right. You got to think of the most important thing, or what's actually going to make you some money today, or get you closer to making some money. And then you can, once you make some money, you can use it to do all those other little things you've been wanting to do forever, Right.
And usually at the beginning, it's all about that consistency. So it's all about that lead generation. And I think we did much better in our business. If you want to know a little secret, if you don't, I won't tell you.
I want to know all the secrets you have.
No, it's the thing that was really helpful. And I don't know if it was Andy McFarland or another friend of mine had said something to me that made me look at things like reverse engineer everything. And that was, it's kind of hard when you need to do marketing. It's just general idea, like the big dominoes of the marketing. Okay, well, I got to figure out the different things within that to do. But it's really hard to know the best thing to do with that for marketing to be that big domino at the beginning of the day. And another way that, whether it was Andy or somebody else had brought about it, was that reverse engineering to look at knowing your numbers and knowing how many leads typically it takes for you to get a deal. Right. And then mapping out from there, if I send out this many letters, how many likely calls or leads am I going to get that are then going to produce that many deals?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have that goal of number of deals or profit, and then you need to look at what's your average profit per deal? So how many deals do I need? Okay, how many leads do I need? How many leads does it take me to get each of those deals? Then I know how many leads I need. And if my goal is to do that during that year, I now have a time period. And so then your focus becomes on, like, this month, I need to generate, 50 leads. And if I do a postcard campaign or letter campaign several times, what am I likely to get? It's kind of a way, you can't ever nail it down, but it gives you a smaller goal to shoot for rather than this, end goal of profit or the end goal of number of deals. You're only shooting for making your phone ring so many times. And so when you get up, you're like, what can I do to make that phone ring? And I'm going to go do those things or set myself up to have that direct mail compound and start bringing that many calls in. And all I'm looking at every, week, month is how many leads did I generate? Okay, I need this many. I'm still this far from that. Mm-hmm. What else do I need to do to get those number of leads up? Does that help? I think for some reason, I would feel like I knew that, but until I put pen to paper and actually figured it out.
Yeah. That's exactly right. I've heard that before and been to, meetups where they tell you the same thing, and I just need to sit down and think about it a little bit harder and, look at my budget, because like I was saying, it's hard if you're going to be, sending that much mail or whatever you're doing. I know I could do something online too, but I just don't want to, excuse me, I don't want to burn through all my cash quickly and then start to get really stressed out. But then I know you say, like, well, yeah, the more money you spend, the more leads you get. So I don't know, it's kind of hard for me.
Yeah. And if you're monitoring and measuring and recording that stuff and keeping track of it, it's less of a scary thing because you're putting numbers to it, you're seeing results, and then you're changing. Mm-hmm. And then, once you're doing that, it's kind of the matter of making sure that you're not cutting things off prematurely, because everything takes some time. And I would say at least 3 months to really know if something's working very well or not. Mm-hmm. But that whole thing of, hesitating to write out how many leads because of this fear of spending the money. When you do the backing into the number of leads, then you look at, okay, if I do this, I'm going to estimate, because it's still going to be somewhat of a guess, right? I'm going to estimate, but from past experience, I've maybe been able to do this much from this many mailers. So what is my estimate for how much that cost? Right? And put the cost to the end of the ideas that you have for getting those leads, and say, well, maybe in the beginning, I don't want to spend a whole lot of money, so I need to do more guerrilla tactics.
Right.
I need to do more of the stuff that got you these awesome deals. You might think that might not be very repeatable, but I think it is. I think it's something that a lot of the investors that have been going for a while don't take the time to do. Mm-hmm. And it's just a matter of having that as your plan to do that and seeing what happens. But yeah, I think it's just putting that pen to paper and then having those numbers and staying up with it, like looking at what's being produced. And it just opens up a lot of clarity to, stuff from being just magical. Like, I did these things and I got this deal, but I don't really know what my numbers were.
Yeah.
So it's you don't feel good about repeating it because you don't know if that was, like, if there's any sort of way to make sure that those results continue.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, and I'm saying this and we're having this conversation, and I I think this is awesome. I think this is one of the best shows because people listening, I'm serious, like people listening, you know, this whole thinking through this exact thing, because I went through this, and I bet you 90+% of investors out there go through this exact thing of this being this close to the transition to full time and being full time for a shorter amount of time.
Yeah.
You know, these are the kinds of things that we're all struggling with.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I hope a lot of people are, you know, feeling the same thing, because I mean, it was a little bit harder a couple months ago. I would just like, you know, go through the ups and downs, like, you know, is it going to work? Yeah, it's going to work. No, it's not. And then, you know, after you get a deal or two from the efforts and from some of the stuff you've been doing, then it kind of like reassures you, like, yeah, it works. Like, you got a deal, you're fixing to make some money, and you just got to keep up with it and keep going. And it's just, there's so much out there you can be doing, and it's so overwhelming when you're listening to podcasts and this and that. And one of the things that I think helps a lot is like if people could just like think about getting one deal, like just get one deal, like from talking to your friends, from knocking on doors, you know, whatever. If you just get one deal, you make a little bit of money, then you can use that to get you another deal or two. But all you really need to start is like one deal. There's got to be a way for you to get one deal if you really want like one deal.
Yeah, that's big, because it's like taking it from, can I do this? Will it work for me? To, I did it. I did one. Now I just need to repeat it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have goals mapped out for profit that you want to generate over the next year, or number of deals, or do you have anything like that yet set up?
It's all in my head still, but I mean, I figured and if I could make like, you know, close to what my salary was working for myself, that'd be pretty awesome. I was making like 90 grand when I quit.
Oh man. Yeah.
And like in my first 6 months, I'm projected to make 50 to 55. So
That's awesome.
And I didn't think it was going to happen that fast. So I'm like, you know, kind of relieved and really happy that I'm making money on my own. But now I just have to keep going and get it more consistently. And, you know, I'm pretty sure within another 6 to 12 months, I'll definitely be doing more than 90,000 a year. So, I just need to put the pen to the paper, and
I'm going to hold you to that too. I want you to send that to me. I'm going to say it right now. I'm going to challenge you to do that within the next week. Just put pen to paper. It's not going to be exact, but
yeah. No, I will. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that, and then stick to it week in, week out, and it'll work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'd like to give you feedback on it. If you want to send it to me, you got my email, just send it to me, and I'll have Melissa look at it too, and we'll both give you some feedback on it. And
okay.
Just go from there. But I just think just the process of you sitting down to do that, it took a load off of my mind. You know, it made things a little bit easier than having, since you're working with yourself and you've got, you know, someone you're partnering with a deal on. But if you have a meeting every week, even if it's just with yourself or with someone else from one of these meetups that you trust, have an accountability meeting with them, because you really got to sit and say, I'm here now. This is what I intend to do this week. You know, next week, ask me about that. Make sure I did that. Or, you know, just to talk it through with somebody can be super, super helpful to make sure that you're, you know, they don't have to even tell you anything. If you just tell them all this stuff, you figure it out from telling it to somebody.
Yeah, that's a good idea as well.
But yeah, because I know, I mean, you've already shown you can make money in this business big time. And I'm just trying to find ways to help you to do that even faster, like, and get that consistency.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I hear some of the other podcasts about, how fast some of these other people get going. And I'm just like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's the exception. Like, it took us forever. It took us 6 or 9 months to get our first deal. And then after that, it was like a month or two. But yeah, it definitely wasn't fast for us either. And that was so many
And
years ago.
I wanted to tell you too that seller lead hacks, like I thought that was definitely some of the best training I've ever seen and I've ever done. And I've probably only done, it's been over a year, and I've probably only done like a third of the stuff you can do.
Oh, wow.
But I plan on doing more, but like just getting the reviews and little stuff like that, most people don't even think about. And it definitely makes, makes a difference. And people tell me that. And, but I really like that training, and I go back through it over and over and need to spend more time with it. But it was great.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like the best kept secret, right? Because we are busy with, the other stuff like the software that I don't typically say a lot about seller lead hacks, but yeah, I mean, that's that online training for all the stuff for online. If you want to learn how to set up that online presence that generates leads and deals with more consistency, it's at sellerleadhacks.com. This is what Doug is talking about. You've been in for a while. You said you've had it for about a year.
I think I got it in July of 2017, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So right after I think I released it then.
Yeah, it was pretty early. Yeah.
Yeah. 6 modules. I spent 2 months recording all that. Like putting all that together. Yeah, 2 solid.
Yeah, and I just had my website like kind of edited or whatever, and it's pretty awesome, I gotta say.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, I'm gonna put the link in the show notes for episode 138, and I'll put the link on there. Give you some SEO juice from that too.
Nice.
Help it with ranking. The power of FlippingJunkie behind it, but. But
yeah, I mean, I'm excited about Flip Pilot as well.
Yeah, and by the time this episode's out, this should be pretty much be launching in increments of opening the door and letting X amount of people in. Should be rolling pretty good at that point. But do you have any books or anything you've been reading that you'd like to recommend, or any kind of tip?
I've got a lot of books that are sitting on my bookshelf right now. I haven't.
Come on.
I need to spend more time reading. That's another thing I need to do. But what I do is I buy all the books that all these people recommend, and I'm just starting to build it's a cool looking collection, but I actually need to start reading them more. And I know I will one day. That's why I'm buying them.
Okay, well, which one are you most interested in reading first then, if you haven't read any that you want to recommend?
It's I can't think of it right now.
I put you on the spot. I don't prepare people for these questions.
Like Success Principles, or can I go look real quick?
Yeah, for sure.
Hold on.
All right, so he's going to get the book. I'm going to talk so you know it didn't just cut off. Stack of books.
Okay. It's called The Law of Success by Napoleon Hill.
Okay.
It's thick. Did you hear me?
Yeah, Law of Success by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah. It's a really thick one. I started reading it, and that's what I always do. It's important to learn. It's something I want to definitely improve on.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Doug, for being on the show. And if anybody out there listening wants to reach out to you or get in touch with you, how should they go about doing that?
Well, Seller Lead Hacks taught me to, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Yelp, I'm on Google, pretty much everywhere. You can look me up on youraustinhomebuyer.com, and that's how my Facebook and everything is set up as well.
Yeah, I like that name. That's awesome. Your Austin Home Buyer. I like that a lot. Where you're at and what you do. I like it.
Yeah.
That's an excellent domain name. How long ago did you get the domain name?
When I got Seller Lead Hacks.
Wow, I'm surprised that was still available. That's a good one. I like that one. Especially you're lucky too, because Austin's not like a long. San Antonio is pretty long.
Yeah.
Austin is shorter, so it's still pretty short. But we'll have that in the show notes page at flippingjunkie.com/138. And again, I guess thank you so much for being on the show. And I really did appreciate this episode. I think it's one I'll remember for a long time. And great info. And man, you've done spectacular, those amazing deals with that kind of profit, 63,000, 100,000. And
well, thank you very much for having me. I enjoyed it.
Awesome.
Sorry.
All right. No, that's great.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, we're having a little bit of connectivity issues. It's kind of freezing up a little bit, but and I'm going to hold you to that though. I want to see the plan for the marketing or whatever.
Yeah, I will. Thank you very much. I enjoyed it.
Great. Thanks, Doug. Keep in touch.
Take care. All right. Bye.